Class discussion about Moonbeam mapping. So this yesterday we discussed about how yellow mosaic resistance been mapped. Whenever you watch any kind of papers which regard to the linkage mapping followed by QTL mapping, you should have some kind of basic information which will help you to read other papers also. So first of all, you have to look on the what is the genome size and genome complexity. That will give you an idea. For example, Moonbeam it's a simple diploid, so it is how many chromosomes. First of all, you have to look. For example, in here case we have 22 chromosome 2 and 22. It's a diploid species and self-pollinated. So these have less complexity when compared to tetraploid or hexaploid species like wheat. So if the simple diploid genome means you may not have much duplicated region, so it is easy to construct the linkage map. But if you have the tetraploid genome like wheat, or hexaploid genome like wheat, you have 3 complements of genome. So then again the markers you have to be choose for the chromosome specific marker. So this case it is not the problem. So another important thing is how big the genome size is. For example, Moonbeam we have the genome size only 443 MB genome. So that means this is little smaller genome compared to other complex genome. For example, if you go for barley, the genome is even though it is a simple diploid, it is around 1.5 1.3 GB. So that means more complex genome. So that case more of repeat regions will be there. So those complex genome like wheat and barley, the more of repeats, and it's very difficult to get the markers, orderly marker throughout the chromosome. Some regions are missing, some regions will be more of repeat regions. So those problems will be there. So whenever you go for constructing linkage maps and developing a mapping populations and QTL mapping some of the new trait of interest, you should first look on the how the nature of the crop. There is a cross-pollinator and self-pollinator. So maybe Dr. Joel discussed in this course very elaborately. And also the number of chromosome it is having. In this case, you are having the 2 and 22 means 11 linkage group, 11 pair of chromosome. Then again complexity. Then again the trait of interest. Again, when you construct the linkage map and want to map a particular trait, again next question is how economically important the trait which you are looking. So for example, in this case, the Moonbeam is the major problem is yellow mosaic virus. That is the major problem which is affecting throughout the world, and the people are difficult to develop a varieties for the Moonbeam yellow mosaic resistant variety. So that means the trait is very important. So whether trait is choosing of the trait is very important. Then again, when you choose a trait, again the parents are polymorphic, parents are diverse for their particular trait. That is another thing. Whether one parent should be completely susceptible, another one will be completely resistant. So this case, the completely susceptible is the VRMGG1. This is a cultivated variety that is been highly susceptible. And we have taken resistant is a TNAU red. That is a umbellata type. This is very highly resistant type. So whenever you choose a mapping population, when you develop a mapping population, the parent should be contrasting for the particular trait of interest. So the trait of interest here is the yellow mosaic resistance. So it should be highly resistant and one will be highly, then only you can get in a population. When you look on segregation, you can get array of variation will be there, array of segregants will be there. Then it's easy, then only the recombinants will be there in the population, then you can easily select them. Apart from that, not only one trait, when you choose a population, it should be contrasting at least few more traits. Then only you can, once you have the genotype data is with you, then you can do many phenotyping and try to map many traits at a time. So this case, these two are contrasting with regard to many biometrical traits. Then I will tell you later what are the traits. Not only that, the key, another important key trait is Burkitt resistance. This again, luckily, these two are contrast with that. One is highly susceptible to Burkitt's. Another one is TNA red umbellata type is highly resistant to Burkitt attack. So these two characters are very important, right? So that is very advantage by using the single population for mapping the both the traits. So along with that, some of the agronomical traits. So So the bottom line is, whenever you choose any mapping, whenever you want to develop a mapping population, develop a real population, because it takes 3 to 4 to 5 years time. So that time choosing the parents is very, very critical for any success in the mapping program. Many mapping programs are failed, or many mapping programs cannot be much interesting, because when you choose a particular trait of interest, sometimes the trait may not be economically attractive trait or economically viable trait. That is the one thing. And also, when you choose even that kind of traits, then the parents should be contrasting. That is another problem. Many people, they do very narrow variation between the parents. That results in you cannot get a fine map for a particular trait as a QTL. Again, the nature of gene action controlling the traits also again important thing. Okay. So it is not audible. Google.
Sir, it's audible, sir.
Okay, I got message. It is not audible. Okay, fine. Let him check his mic, speaker. Okay. So here the problem, here the thing is, whenever choose any kind of, this is, I am taking example in case of Moonbeam, whether you want to work in rice or maize or pearl millet, whatever the example it is. But the question is the nature of choosing the material is important, and also how you are going to phenotype the material is another important. Okay. So next thing is, so these are the few points whenever you work. There are many papers coming regularly on the marker-assisted breeding program, or developing a maps, construction of linkage map, fine map, gene cloning, map-based cloning of some of the gene of interest. Many things are coming nowadays, but the main common thing is you should have this kind of basic information on that. Okay, so next, we already last class we discussed. So thing is that when you develop a population, again, the population should be a recombinant inbred line population is best, because when you use F2s or the backcross population, we call it as mortal population, because it's always segregating. You cannot test this population across location, because when you want to go for QTL mapping, we have to check whether the QTL is consistent across location, or if you evaluate two to three locations, whether the same QTL is common QTL is coming between the locations. These are all the questions again. So in that case, normally when a QTL mapping be done, usually they expect that this at least to be tested in two locations or two different seasons, in order to find whether the consistent QTLs are located in the same region. The other thing, the QTL, I explained the required phenotypic variants. So that case, in order to map any QTLs, nowadays the most preferred population is recombinant inbred line population, because the recombinant inbred line population, we already elaborately discussed on that. It takes time to develop, but when you get up to F7 or F8 generation, it gets stabilized. Then there is no more segregation in that. So that case, you can multiply seeds and distribute to different location for evaluation. The phenotyping in different location is possible once you have this kind of real population. That is the one thing. Another thing we already discussed about the type of marker system which you are using. There are many marker systems prevailed many periods, but the marker system which you are choosing should be cost effective, and also it should be more polymorphic markers. So nowadays, the present day situation, SNP markers are more and more polymorphism. You will get any locus you can get polymorphism, and more markers also can be used. So that's why when you construct any high density linkage map nowadays, SNP marker is the choice compared to SSR marker, because the limitation, the number of markers, and also the high throughput genotyping, another things. So because of that, the genotype by sequencing GBS method, the people try to use the SNP marker for nowadays for any map constructions. So this is another one more thing. So choice of marker system and choice of the mapping population. These two are very critical in any mapping studies, because choice of population, if you use the recombinant inbred line population, then it can be used across location, different season. You can generate a lot of phenotype data. Then those phenotype data can be again we can able to run, and we can able to find whether the same QTL region is there, consistent QTL, or what is the phenotype effect on different locations, and what is the influence on the environment on the QTL. So many things you can work on these kind of real population. Another thing, the mapping population, the genotyping method I told you, because you already know that there is a very huge progress, very huge fast development it's happening in the NGS platform. So very cost efficient and very quick method, and also cheaper markers now available. So that's why the SNP is another 1 decade, definitely it will rule, because it's can able to generate a lot of markers for a particular population. So these things are again very important. So this case we used the F9 population and used the SNP marker. Okay. So we are, this is, I already we discussed about the how these two parents are crossed, and we got the F9 drills. That URMGG1 is a susceptible line and TNA is a resistant. This is for susceptible for both mung bean yellow mosaic virus, and also this is also susceptible to bruchid infection. This one both resistant to mung bean and yellow mosaic virus, and also the bruchid resistance. Okay, so this around 109 drills are developed. So this is the way we did develop the population, the VRMGG1 and TNA red, and from F1 to it went to up to F9 generation. You can say that per year, since it's a pulses crop, which is you can grow 3 crop a year, but by practical difficulty, people maximum they once you harvest seed process, maximum 2 crop a year they will take. So this case you see almost minimum 4 to 5 years is taken up to be reach up to the F9 generation. So it's around 187 drills we developed, but we used only 108 drills for the GBS genotyping. 108 drills are, these are the real populations. Real population which we used for the genotyping. So here we give the parents TNA red and also VRMGG1. The parents, along with that, we used around 108 different recombinant lines for the mapping studies. So this is the, for example, when you send the sample for GBS genotyping, so you have to check the samples whether your population is randomly distributed. For example, this case, we look for susceptible and resistant to MOME. When you look whole population, we have to find out which are all the resistance, which are all the susceptible to mung bean yellow mosaic virus. So these are all the reels which have the resistant. These are all the having susceptible reels. So when you choose a population for even before going for genotyping, you should see that whether the population is fully representing all the complete spectrum of variation with regard to OME or the bruchid. So this case we checked the OME infection for all the reels, and then we check it is really both resistant and susceptible reels are there in the whole population. That is the one thing. That is very important when you have to analyze. Then I already told you the library, this case, we prepared the library with the EcoR1 and MSC1, and the digester with the MSC1 and EcoR1. Then the adapter also we used the PST1. And after the digestion, MSC1 and EcoR1, the adapter, this case they used MSC1 adapter and PST1 adapters, additional that. So again, after that we do the primers, the P7 and P5 specific primers for the amplification, and then the cluster generation. So this is the information which is given by the company. Then so once the data is given, the bioinformatics pipeline which we followed, once we got the library constructed and went for Illumina sequencing. This case, after the Illumina sequence data came, we do the data will be looked into the whether adapter is there. First you have to remove the adapter being removed, and also align the reference sequence by BWA MAM software. Then also SAM and PAM will be shot by Pichart software, and also the indexing by using the reference sequence by using the SAM tools. So SNP calling by Platypus software, SNP calling. Then imputation by FastPace. So anyhow, we will in the course of our class, I try to expose you some of the tools, how to filter the adapter sequence, how to do the reference, align the reference genome sequence, and then again how to sort by SAM and BAM tools, and again how the indexing been done by using SAM tools, and also the SNP calling, how the SNP calling been done by using Platypus and imputation. So these are all the tools you have to learn. You have to learn definitely nowadays. It's bioinformatics tools are very necessity nowadays. When you got these raw sequence from the company, then you have to use some of the tools, and you have to align your sequence, and then you have to filter your SNPs. Then we can go for application. In this case, we go for QTL and also the reference genome alignment. Okay. So I already told you this case we got the 2.9 million reads, average reads for this one. So the raw read length, this case we got 101 base pair read length. After removal of adapter and trimming adapters and other linker sequence, and finally the barcode adapter linkers are removed, then finally we got around 90 base pair read length for the individual samples. This is for SNP genotyping. This is enough for the this kind of work. So this is the originally number of raw read length, then read lengths to susceptible cultivar, read length index 10 million in case of subsistent, 9 million, 8 million in case of susceptible, and 67 million number of reads we got. So average number will be 2.9 million average read lengths. So you have to check when you analyze, after getting the sequence data, you have to analyze whether all the real populations have the enough number of read length. And when the read lengths, you have to check whether every individual have, then how much we can, after dripping, what is the size of the read we are getting. These are all will decide on the quality and also how you are going to perform your things. Then again, for example, in the 11 chromosome in case of Mumbin, around 2497 scaffold being generated, and this is the total genome size being reconstituted. So the number of, so finally the SNP filtration also the case you have to look, you have to remove the major allele frequency. What is that? Then what is the minimum depth you did sequencing, maximum missing data, number of alleles, maximum number of alleles, minimum number of alleles. This has to be, for example, parent 1 have one allele, parent 2 is different allele. So number 2 allele, either A or T, this is a SNP normally. But if you get heterozygotes also, some cases, some regions are still heterozygote. So those regions you will always get heterozygote allele. So that is, you have to see that how many number of alleles are present, how many percentage of data missing, what is the depth coverage, everything you have to check when you check on the quality of the data in the GBS data set. Okay. Then this is regarding the genotyping and also the way in which you are choosing the population. Then again, I told you the phenotyping. This is again very critical thing. We feel it is very simple, not so. Because when you look on the phenotype, this is only terminal flowering type. It is a continuously flowering umbellata type. And determinate, this is determinate is indeterminate. And make your crosses F1, it is having the some kind of determinate nature with the tendril nature. So this is having the plant having some tendrilness in the leaf, and so it's a very contrasting type with both umbellata and radiata, since it's involved one of the other species. So there is a possibilities of getting more contrast type, and also the F1s you have to look on. So again, when you look on the phenotyping, I told you not only we phenotyped for MOME resistance, Mumbin yellow mosaic virus, and also we phenotype the bruchids, that is seed trait. Apart from that, there is this is the first linkage map in SNP based map. So we want to check all the biometrical traits, which are the major characters, how much there may be some quantitative character, but we want to map that where their location it is. So this you have to flowering, 50% flowering, days to first flowering, plant height, number of primary branches, number of cluster per plant, a number of pod per cluster, number of pods per plants and pod length, number of seeds per pod, 100 seed weight, grain yield. So these are all the characters which really decide on the, these are all the biometrical characters normally decide on the yield of the particular crop. So whenever you look on these different biometrical traits, you can see that each one have, for example, some case now the grain yield, number of grains. In the case of rice, now the grain number QTL has been cloned and make it a major, they make the major QTL being cloned, grain number. So the grain number of seeds per cluster is a very important character. Like rice, we have grain number. Here, number of seeds per plant. So there are many characters, not like rice. In the case of mung bean, there are many characters. Still, it is not fine map. Still not been cloned because of lot of restriction on the lot of genome less variability in case of mung bean genome compared to other cereal genomes. Okay. So that's why we flowering also the flowering time QTL the flowering time gene is already been cloned in case of rice and also tomato. So the QTL for flowering there is five six major gene was earlier there. Now they clone major gene for flowering time QTL. That is also linked with photoperiodism. So this case the still there is a flowering is has to be mapped by map, then only we go for next stage. So like that, there are many candidate genes which have a lot of potentiality. So first, any gene first they used to map as a QTL. Then they, if it is having a major phenotypic effect, and if it's controlled by major QTL, then people start working on the particular QTL to find map or many other purposes. So that's why any new, for example, even rice, the many traits which we are now looking on the clone the gene, but earlier it is mapped as a QTL, including the salt tolerance gene, saltol, or the in case of other submerged tolerance or grain number, all flowering time. This all initially mapped as a QTL, and then after that they resolve the region and they will to find map and they able to get a gene major effect gene on this kind of traits. So like that, the initial stage we are trying to map as a QTL. Okay, so the map constructions I already we discussed about. We use the linkage maps for the construction of this SNP marker we used for constructing the map. So here we used 110 lines generated, around 342 million reads. I already told you this is the how much read length between the parents and how much read between the reels, and this will decide about the how best we are able to use the SNP for the mapping. So initially the very huge data millions of data been generated, but after that there is you have to find out the what is the, for example, initially the number of reads, for example, are minimum or 2 million reads you can see for all the reels, and also your parents is around 8 million, 10 million in case of one parent VRMGG1, around 9 million reads for TNAU rate. So the your parents are this case we did deep sequencing, that's why we got more millions, more X coverage. So it's because in order to first find out that this is a polymorphic SNPs, then those polymorphic SNPs can be targeted in the real population. That's why we did deep sequencing for the VRMGG1 and TNAU red. So that is why the this kind of variation you can get in this. Almost we get minimum 2 million reads for each reel. Sometimes some reels have very less number of SNPs being identified, number of reads. Okay. So again, when you look on any data, why am I insisting this one? Whenever you read any paper on the construction of linkage map using SNPs, then you have to look on this data. Always the reviewer also asks the data. Individual reads, how many reads you have, how many millions of read for individual reel, whether all the reels are sequenced enough, enough coverage is there, or any missing in the reels, very poor sequencing data is there. So those things has to be we usually should understand and when I read the paper. So first of all, whether the parents are deep sequenced, whether in order to find the polymorphic SNP, if the parents are deep sequenced, this case 8 and 10 million reads, then how much read length they got in the individual reads? This case minimum 2 to 4 million reads for individual reads. So this is also very good information data. Then this is the distribution of SNP. I already told you each chromosome it is uniformly all the SNPs are distributed for each NB region. That is another thing for the checking the reliability of the map. Then again in another one more table you always has to look on any paper when you read on the linkage maps. So each chromosome how many SNPs they are identified. For this case 13,274 SNPs are identified in the chromosome 1, and also the how many filtered SNPs 155, how many mapped SNPs. So even though you identified this much of 13,000 SNPs you identified after the all satisfying all the criteria like chi-square test and many things, after testing after filtering many criteria, finally you end up with this much SNPs. Then finally, after filtering, you have only 79 SNPs are mapped in the chromosome, 79, because in same region you cannot put more than 100 or 200 SNPs in single region, because there is evenly distributed region you have to take. So clustered SNPs will be removed. Only the representing that particular cluster, those SNPs will be retained. So like that, there is around 79 SNPs are mapped, and so this is around 68% out of filtered SNP 115. Only 79 SNPs are mapped. That means there may be some kind of segregation, distortion, chi-squared may not be fit, or sometimes so those kind of problems will be there. Some kind of reels, there will be some missing data in some of the reels. So this all will affect on the mapped SNPs. So we got out of 150 filtered SNPs, we only have 79 SNPs are mapped. So this is around 68.7% mapped. And also the map length, you have to check on the map length. How much, for example, if you use around 74 markers, if it is evenly distributed, then there is a recombination between the progenies is uniform, then your marker also the recombine same fashion. So you will get around 117.9 centimorgan distance. If sometimes the map distance will enhance the map distance, and sometimes the map distance will be narrowed. So these are all the problem with the number of SNPs which are distributed across the chromosomes, and how these behave in the Mendelian way, how the segregating. These are all the things will decide on the map average number of the map length, and also the SNPs which are mapped. So if you map the SNPs, then based on the recombination, then you can see what will be the map length. So the average intervals, again, this is another one more criteria you have to check in always when you read the paper. What is the average number of average marker intervals? For example, in every chromosome, at least every 2 centimorgan, if you have the marker, then it is easy to place your QTL or some of the trait in the map, and you can find map the QTL. So that's why whenever you use any kind of, when you refer any kind of paper, we have to look on how these markers are placed on the every average, how many markers are in individual. Some chromosome we can have 1.49 markers per average per number of marker per centimorgan. Some chromosome will get 2.4 average markers per centimorgan. So this again vary between the chromosomes. Some chromosomes are more active, some chromosomes have more active recombinant. So those chromosomes we get more of markers, more of recombination. The distance also will be little bit increasing. Some of the regions, some of the chromosomes very less active, less chromosome, the size of the chromosome is less, and those cases you can see that there is a number of markers will be less. So these are all the things we have to look on the map. So again, this is the for example, this is the different kind of chromosomes. How many SNPs are mapped in each chromosome? This is on the other circle. Okay, so the next one is the so this is the when you look on the map, this map when you look on detail on the map, this genetic map have 538 final SNP been used. This been named as Vigna SNP. The people will give their different names. For example, rice, they give an RM for example SSR marker. So some people will give a SNP name particular crop. So this case Vigna is the crop, then SNP Vigna SNP we given. So this is mapped on 11 linkage groups. So each the interspecific genetic map scanned around. Total length of the size of the map is around 1271 centimorgan, and also the marker interval is around 2.40 centimorgan. So this on the each, so this is whenever have problem in some regions, you have to look on that how much centimorgan distance between the marker interval. And the number of markers in the individual linkage groups also range from 30 markers in very less marker in chromosome 10 and 79 markers on chromosome 1. And the chromosome contain 34 markers. So the variation is there between the chromosomes. Not only the problem with the way you are fixing, but there are things to change. So the number of mapped marker in the individual groups range from 30 markers to 79 mark. Again, between chromosomes also, this number of markers will vary. So you have to be, when you read this one, these are all the give information on that, whether all the markers are distributed uniformly on the chromosome or some markers are very less in certain chromosomes. So again, those things you have to be look into that. So these are the things you have to look on the high resolution map. This again, the map fits till average length. This is already we discussed. So finally, we got this kind of genetic linkage map with the distribution throughout. You can see throughout the chromosome it is distributed. Across the chromosome also you can get enough number of markers. This is again 11 chromosome. You can see the markers. So with this we I'm told about the what are the general information needed for the map construction. This is all up to construction of linkage map. If we are successfully construct the linkage map with evenly distributed markers on the chromosome, then your job on QTL mapping will be little easy. Unless your map is not perfect, then you cannot place your QTL. Even if you place the QTL on the chromosome, then you may not have the enough marker intervals or the fine map. You cannot do the fine mapping. Okay. So there are a few things whenever you read on the any QTL paper and the QTL mappings, you already been worked on the QTL. For some of the demo, we worked on the Pearl Millet. I already showed you how the QTLs are being mapped with the phenotype data which is given to you. So this case, whenever you look on any QTL data, so you have to look how many QTLs are reported. So for example, the QTL, the reporting QTL is again. So if when you have the QTL, then you have to look first of all the R-square value, whether this is required number of phenotypic variants being explained by the QTL. That means if any QTLs are mapped, this particular QTL, how much percentage of phenotypic effect it explained. For example, MOMB, this case we have two major QTLs on the this chromosome 4 and 6. So this case, for example, for chromosome 4 we have 14% R-square value, this 10 around. When these together, these two major QTL together, which contribute around 24% of phenotypic effect. If any QTL which have more than 20% of phenotype variants, that will be a good QTL. For example, the QTLs are very less than 10% or even less than 9%. Some of the QTL, it may not have big influence on the trait of interest. Maybe a more minor genes are there. So whenever you look any QTL table, you have to look on the first R-square value. When you look on the R-square value, but in this case, the QTL which we mapped on MIME trait, which is on the chromosome 4, and another one is chromosome 6. So chromosome 4, we have one major QTL. New chromosome 6, we have another major QTL, which is explained around 14% and 10% phenotypic variants. Apart from that, we can see that there is a large score also, whether the large score is above 3. Yes, the large scores are above 3. Again, the position on the placement of this QTL position, when you look, there are two things we can look. What is the genetic position? That is, what is the centimorgan distance? This case around 64.1 centimorgan distance. This is the chromosome 4. When you look on the any genome and the Vigna genome browsers, you can go to the region, the chromosome 4 this case, and you can able to find out the reference genome map where the QTL is location. Not only that, but also we can able to see the physical location, not only genetic distance, you can do the physical location, because we already know we aligned our sequence data. Then we know we mapped with the reference genome. Then we know that. Just a minute. சொல்லுப்பா கிளாஸ்ல இருக்கேன்பா கிளாஸ்ல இருக்கேன் கூப்பிடுறேன் ஏன் வைவாவா ஓகே ஓகே எத்தனை மணிக்கு ஓகே ஓகே Okay, so whenever you look on the QTL physical position, because always you refer with the if the reference map is available, then you can go to directly 14 MB to 15 MB region in the particular this case in the Moonbeam browser. Then you can locate this particular QTL which is on which physical position. What is the megabase size? Again QTL size in terms of centimorgan and also in terms of base pair size. For example, 1 centimorgan is almost equal to 1 to 2 MB region. So this case less than 1 centimorgan, around 1 centimorgan distance, around 1.2 megabase region. It is reasonably good region. You can see that. So whenever if you annotate also, you can see there are 84 genes in this region. Around it comes around 1.2 megabase region. So like that, every trait, this is only I told you the example on MOME resistance, but there are other traits like 50% flowering, plant height, number of pod per cluster, number of pod length. So 100 grain, 1000 grain weight, grain yield per plant. So plant height, the many trait you can look. What is the position on where it is located? What is the position centimorgan distance? And what is the lot score value? Whether they have minimum 3. Then you can look for the percentage of this case. We can see the what is again the heritability of the trait. Again the R square value. Then again the confident intervals. What is the centimorgan distance between 60 to 65 centimorgan distance? And again the physical position is around 1.2 megabase region and number of. So these are all the things, information when you look any QTL for grain yield or any flowering. So many QTL if you look, then you have to look on the what is our it collects interval into confident intervals and what is to be the physical position, number of QTL. So this information you always, whenever you read any paper, which you have to be read on the QTL. So finally at the end of the QTL mapping, you will get these kind of results. Okay. So again, I told you that whenever you phenotype, first of all, any QTL mapping, the phenotyping is very important. So whenever you phenotype it, then you have to look for the frequency. For example, I already phenotyped for this case 180 recombinant bird lines. So when you phenotype these reels, then you go for frequency distribution. So whenever you study the frequency distribution for the particular trait, this case, this is the season 1 and season 2. For example, this case you can see the frequency. This is MOMB screen from 1 to 9 scale. 1 is highly susceptible, 9 is highly resistant. This is the resistance scale is 1, that is highly resistant. Susceptible is 9, that is 9. Most of the leaves are affected. This becomes scale. They have the specific scale. So 1 to 9 scale system following for the mung bean. So the MOMB scoring. So that's why I told you that phenotyping is very important. How you need experience on the crop, and if it is involved a pathogen disease related, then pathologist involvement is very important. So this case we have the pathology and the pathologist. So the pathologist important because they have to look the score whether they've been plants are scored when you sow the crop in a field and it is in the hot spot, the infection has to take place. So infection has to be taken. If it is infected, one parent should be highly susceptible, they should have 9 score. Another parent is highly susceptible, you should have 1 score. So you should have the highly variation will be there whenever you first check the parents. Then if this have the one parent is highly susceptible, 9 score, another parent is 1, it is very good. Then you can score for the reels. So some reels will be moderate, some will be moderately resistant, some will be highly resistant. So you can see that reels itself there is so many variation because it is recombined. The the recombination happens between the parents. So the transfer of this trait bean happens for the recombinant bird lines. So that's why again if you check in one season, you have to check in other season also. So that by that you can able to say whether the consistently this kind of disease resistance mechanism operating or not. If you put one season, another season, almost all are susceptible, then there is no point of looking on that with this have the host plant resistance. So again, so this is both season data. Both season became almost same. Most of the trait, especially for the mung bean yellow mosaic virus trait. Then again, when you look on the this is a phenotypic variance. Again, you have to look how much CV is there, what is the mean value, what is the skewness, cutoff. So all statistical parameters you have to check whether this is having the required variability in the population. The another one more thing after the when you run the QTL, when you have the skeleton map is ready, then your phenotype data is ready, then you are running the QTL cartographer. Then finally you get the data. When you get the data in the Excel format, which I shown you, otherwise you can get also picture format. So this case, when you look on the QTL graph, then you have to very carefully look on that. What is the LOD score? This case, the LOD is 3.3. So this LOD, there is a very very major peak and also very narrow peak again. For example, between the peak very smaller region, it is easily these are the smaller flanking markers. If at some cases if the QTL will be so flat, then the region will be very long. So this will be very important. So for example, there is again when you analyze the two seasons, whether this QTL is consistent across the location. When I screen in 2015 and I screen again 2060, both the seasons we are able to narrow down in a particular region on the chromosome. So that's why these dotted lines, the highly dotted line 2015 and the dark dotted lines are 2016, where the phenotyping been done, then there's been used for QTL mapping. So while QTL mapping, this QTL 4.1, this shows during 14 and 15 there is a same region, and also this when you see this graph, you can see that there is a between the peak there is a very smaller region. There you can able to find out the closest flanking marker for your markerless breeding program, or the location on the chromosomes. Many things you can look on that. So this is why the resistance, how it been mapped and how it is been QTLs, how it looks. Again, you have to choose the peak of the QTL and what is the right flanking, left flanking marker, what is the distance between, and also between season, what is the difference. Those things you can able to see that. So finally, this is the major QTL which has been mapped in the Mungbin, which what are the traits we discussed. Not only the mapping only will not solve the things. When you map it, we say that it is a very smaller region in the chromosome, 1 MB, 2 MB region. Then you can annotate the region, whether really this particular, when you narrow down, this is the candidate region for MIME resistance. That case, whether there is any resistant gene analogs or any resistant related gene which are prevailing or which are reported in this region, that can be done by annotation, can be done with many softwares. One such is BLAST2Go, where you can annotate any given region on the genome with the specific nucleotide or protein databases. So this case, we annotated the chromosomal region, individual region, which reported the major QTL. So chromosome region is broken and major QTL regions are reported. So these regions we check for the availability of the any candidate genes, old genes or newer genes, which have specific role on this kind of time. So anyhow, this annotation we have to work practically. Then you can know that. Anyhow, today evening we'll have some class or something we to teach you on the BLAST2Go, how to annotate the sequences on a particular region. So when you narrow down a particular QTL region, then you have to annotate the region. What is the probable candidate genes present in that? Then you can work on that. Okay. So the parameters which we recorded for every season, this is a pod number, pods per plant length, pod length, number of seeds per pod, 100 seed weight and grain length. These are the key characters they feel that is been scored in the both the seasons during 2016 and 2017, both the seasons. And we look on the CV, skewness, kurtosis, and also mini. So these are all the characters when you look on the season. And again, when you look on the frequency distribution also, because not only MOMB we mapped, but other character like flowering and also pod characters, seed character, many things we recorded. So we want to map it. So each character you have to look for, go for frequency distribution, whether these two parents are contrasting with this in the population. So that is the first criteria. The most of the characters showing contrasting trait. Some characters which have very narrow variability. So those characters very difficult to find map the QTL region, or the very few QTLs may be detected or minor QTL will be detected. If it is a contrasting, the parents are between two parents are contrasting one, definitely the population has good number of segregants, then it is easy to more recombinant you will get, then you can easily map those traits in a particular population. But if it is very narrow variability between two parents, then it is very difficult to map those kind of QTLs. So the most of the traits. So that is why the QTL mapping, which we so far discussed. So these are all the QTLs which when you QTL cartographer will give you, then you have to look at LOD value or what is the flanking marker. So these things you have to record it, and then you can find out which are the common QTL and which are all the things. Okay. So these are the things which I want to share today. Maybe We will 11 o'clock. We'll continue our Brook kits. This is with regard to mung bean. I will stop with that mung bean, yellow mosaic virus, especially with the other trait like biometrical traits, which been mapped in the mung bean linkage map, which has been constructed based on the SNP based map. So these QTLs are being identified, and finally we can able to pinpoint the how many, which are all the characters have good variability, and those characters only we used for the QTL mapping. So the QTL maps are generated for the not only MOME but other agronomical traits, those by using QTL cartographer. Then you can see by nature of the peak and the LOD value of the LOD, which will decide which are all the major QTLs and which is the flanking marker for the QTL region. And so the above the level, we are able to get above the LOD score. We got a lot of QTLs which are major effect QTLs. So for many characters. So this is the first linkage map, SNP based linkage map in case of Bigna, mainly for MOME resistance. So this paper also I will share you. If you read the paper now, you can get a better understanding on how if you read one paper fully on the mapping and also the QTL mapping and the linkage maps, then it is easy to understand any paper when you read on any other journals like molecular breeding, TAG or Euphaetica. It is easy to understand once you read deep on the one particular paper. So common, all are carrying the common methodology they used. Mostly they use QTL cartographer, they use joint map for construction of map, and the QTL cartographer for the QTL analysis. Then they use for annotation, they go for some specialized software set like BLAST2Go. So like that, the methodology almost same, with only smaller modification or little bit similar kind of software. And also the population development also, again, it's interesting field for the every paper which when you read it, some people quickly develop the population, some people take long time. So these are the things when the practicality you have to know that when you attend either molecular breeding course or the genomics course on the structural part, which are the information is very essential to read, because many crops still fine linkage maps are not completed, or there are a lot of papers, a lot of research works are going on in many minor crops. Then you can see many paper on that. So for that, for basic information on this one is needed to read any papers. Okay, so with that, today I will stop my discussion. So we'll have the continue our discussion in the afternoon class. Sorry, by 11.